or IMI, after learning the ropes of electronics manufacturing and engineering, they assume different but related roles within the company. The first speaker works as a program engineer in IMI's automotive camera business unit. He serves as the project head for new product introduction of various automotive products such as forward sensing cameras used for advanced driver assistance systems and interactive display systems using MEMS technology. He directs the cross-functional team to achieve the overall commercial success of the project and serves as the technical window for customer requirements towards qualification of the new product. An esteemed member of the business unit, he also mentors junior program engineers on the team and guides them on their respective NPI projects. He is a graduate of BS Electronics Engineering from De La Salle University, Dasmariñas, is a former vice president for external affairs of the ECE Program Council, and a license holder for electronics engineering. Let us all welcome Mr. Arvee Dadis. His co-speaker today first worked for IMI in global supplier management and negotiation as a commodity engineer. She later became a business development specialist, handling commercial and technical setup of new products into IMI's production lines and supporting overall project management for industrial and automotive products. She is currently a NPI engineer under the Central Engineering Department at IMI Philippines, focused on the deployment of power modules for electric vehicles. She is also responsible for technical project management, coordinating the upstream and downstream integration of the new products from product design until mass production. She is a graduate of BS Applied Physics from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and is a former vice president for external affairs of the UP Physics Association. Please also welcome Ms. Justine Carpio. With a combined experience of nearly 10 years in project management for customers in the Asia, Europe, North America, and Australasia, they are here today to speak to us about project management fundamentals.
All right, let's give a warm welcome to Justine and Arvee, guys. Turn on your mics. Round of applause, please.
Afternoon.
Your mics now. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you... Ayun, there we go. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Your cam. Would you like to turn it on?
Sorry. Let me just start my video. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. So, just to give you more in-depth background about what we do, I would just like to show this video about our company so you have a better background on what it is that we do exactly on a day-to-day basis. So let me just start the video. Let me know if there are any issues at the start and then I can replay it if ever.
As our world continues to transform and emerging technologies begin to disrupt and reshape the world we live in, we have been preparing for their impact. For us, to live and breathe technology is a way of life. We are Integrated Microelectronics Incorporated, or simply IMI, deeply involved in game-changing and radical transformations in technology solutions. 4 decades of experience have prepared us to conquer continents. From a global manufacturing solutions partner, we are now a global technology solutions company, transforming your vision to tangible solutions. Continuing our legacy of growth and innovation.
IMI was able to get this far not by chance, but by strategy. We are fortunate that we were supported by our shareholders, our board, and the aligned vision we had with Ayala Corporation. We are fortunate that we have a global leadership team that's been able to execute on all the different strategies that we have determined to be important in being able to achieve where IMI is now. We will continue our focus on our strategy in the mobility, industrial connectivity, and smart energy space. Using our organic and acquired capabilities, we will now enable us to provide a full technology solution for our partners. IMI was able to achieve its current position because it has been proactive in adapting and transforming itself to continue to be relevant to the changing market, as well as sustain its drive in providing the product realization mission to its valued partners. We are future ready.
A global company with a diverse culture, embracing a connected existence. We continue to expand and are positioned to bring the future in the automotive, industrial, and aerospace industries. Continuously evolving in the ever-changing world of technology while keeping focus on our vision. We remain relevant and at par with global megatrends, passionately immersed in shaping the future. For us, the future begins now. We are IMI. We are future ready.
Okay. Hi. So that was a brief primer on our company. So let me just, sorry, I need to reshare.
So as Justin was mentioning, so we're a proud Filipino-owned company with a global footprint. So we do manufacturing of parts relating to automotive, industrial, and medical. So if you're familiar with PCB assemblies, I think in the electronic subject you do PCB etching, right? So we do the assembly of PCBAs on our side for, as mentioned, various fields like automotive, industrial, and medical, and we also do box build assembly of certain component that goes into these sectors of manufacturing. Okay, so I think we can proceed to the next point in the topic.
Okay, yeah. So for today, we will be talking to you about what we do at IMI, in particular about project management, and a little bit on technical project management, which is what I personally am doing. Just a recap, so project management refers to the management of any endeavor that has specific goals and is time bounded and normally requires a certain amount of resources. So kahit ano to, from something as formal and complex like roadworks, building a bridge, government project, or something more smaller scale like planning a birthday party, where you have a specific time constraint in terms of kailan yung birthday, sino yung pupunta, ilan yung pupunta, saan siya gaganapin, and so on. So all of that, all of those items are projects, and the management of all the items in terms of achieving the goals of that project are called project management. Now, in particular, we will touch today on several project constraints. There are actually 6 main project constraints in any project. So the first is the scope. What is the project aiming to do? So that, like I mentioned earlier in my example, if it's a birthday party, your scope is to be able to plan and execute a party where maybe 50 guests will attend, yung birthday celebrant is, let's say, 7 years old. It's a 7-year-old birthday party. Saan ba siya gaganapin? And so on.
Or more specifically, let's go to let's say, project that you guys are more familiar with. For example, building a power supply, which I think you still do in your electronics one subject, right, Josh? Do they still
Yes.
do that project? Okay,
Meron pa
so relating to that one, the scope could be something like making a power supply that outputs 3, 6, and 9 volts regulated. And then that's a scope. And for example, the time-bounded portion of that is, for example, the deadline. So your prof mentioned, for example, you need to submit it within a month. So that shows that this project has a certain scope, which is the details of the power supply that you need to make. And the time is the deadline where the professor asks you to submit this project. Okay?
Okay. And then moving forward, so other project constraints include budget. Siyempre, kapag gagawa tayo ng power supply, you will need to have the materials. Ano ba yung mga, magkano ba yun per part ang kailangan? So that's one aspect of the project. And then the next one, of course, is the quality. So this is one of the most important constraints in the project, wherein a certain level of quality, goodness or quality criteria is what determines kung nag-succeed ba kayo sa project, nag-succeed ba tayo sa project or not. And then we can also talk about risks, both about risks and benefits in terms of yung mga kailangan nating gawin in the project. And then also any other resources that are necessary for the project, like team members and non-financial resources. Okay. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions at any time, I think you can interrupt. May option ba dito to raise your hand or something, Josh?
Yes, but my suggestion is that we later na lang, we postpone it for a later section, Q&A section later.
Okay, that works. All right. Okay. And then in terms of the project management, there are general categories of activities called phases of the project. So any project, of course, begins with initiating the project. So this involves coming up with the project, giving birth to the project. Ano ba yung, what is the project all about? Ano ba yung gagawin natin dun sa project? So this starts with someone initiating the project. Arvee, ano nga yung formal word for this? Is this the project sponsor?
Yeah, the project sponsor.
Yeah. So whenever we have a project, there will be someone called the project sponsor who will start up the project and formally give birth to the project in terms of what it is and what it aims to do. So once the project is initiated, of course, there is the planning stage where the details of the project are hammered down. In terms of the timeline, when is it exactly? What are our criteria or quality measures in terms of knowing if we are successful or not? How much are we going to spend? What is our budget for the project? And then we also start to assess, to perform gap assessments. Ano ba yung potential risks? So ito yung gusto nating gawin. How far are we from going there or getting there? And what might be stopping us, or what might be our roadblocks?
So similarly, in your experience in your project making in college, the planning phase could be the phase where you, for example, in the initiating part, you already received the requirement from your professor. Say, for example, power supply. You know that you need to build a power supply with these certain specifications. And then during planning, this is where you allocate your resources. So you have your resources first, the people, you have your group. you delegate tasks to them. Say one people do the schematic design, one one person do the the sourcing of the components of the design. For example, checking on the resistors, the PCBs available in the market, and then consolidating all this to come up with a timeline when you will be able to finish your project. So that is basically what the planning phase is all about. So from there, you'll be able to gauge what will be the resources needed to be able for you to come up with your, or to complete your project. Okay, moving back to executing.
Okay, so once we have a plan for the project, that's the time that we begin to execute. And during this entire time of executing our activities, we also continuously do controlling and monitoring. So what what are we talking about when that comes up? So this is the time na we do continuous checks na yung ginagawa ba natin, is it still aligned with our plan? Are we delayed or meron ba tayong time na nagigain when we do certain activities? Are there any open items? And then of course, every step of the way, we document what we are doing and how far we are going. So that's the controlling and monitoring phase. To make sure that what we are doing, what we are executing, is still aligned to our plan. And then once we have completed execution of our project, we also have to formally close the project. So this is to ensure that there are no open items, that we are really able to get a consensus with all of the stakeholders ng project. For example, yung sa power supply na project, if it's a group project, there has to be an agreement between the entire team and the teacher na talagang natapos na yung project and it was concluded as per plan. So the power supply is according to the specifications na kasama sa planning natin. We're not over budget, wala tayong naiiwan na items na kailangan gawin, and so on. Okay? Anything to add, Arvee?
In this case, the project closes pag chinek na ni Sir Ariola yung project nyo at gumagana o hindi. Pero yeah, so this is where the time-bounded element of the project goes in. So for sure, we don't want to be doing a project for forever, right? So there has to be a time-bounded element there. So that closes when you submit your project, when the teacher grades your project, and you get the grade corresponding to that project. So going back lang dun sa controlling and monitoring. So during the execution part, this is where you take all your plans in action. In the controlling and monitoring, siguro in the perspective sa college students, this is more being done by the group leader. So the group leader usually checks kung is the one that I have assigned to design the schematics doing it on time. So is the one that I've assigned to do the sourcing of the parts doing it on time. So we can say that the project manager could be in similar way acts as the project leader in your respective projects in colleges. Okay.
Okay.
Next.
So going back to this slide about the constraint. So the role of a project manager is actually to ensure that all of these project constraints are given the right attention. So depending on the complexity of the project, possible na mas kailangan bigyan ng pansin yung scope if there are a lot of items to be considered. For example, in our line of work, we can have complex projects which have about maybe over 300 components with around 30 processes na kapag may binago ka in one aspect, magkakaroon ng effect sa ibang aspect. So, doon magkakaroon ng specific attention in terms of the scope. pwede rin na yung project has some sensitivity in terms of time, meaning tight yung deadlines na bawal magkaroon ng delay in terms of any activity. So the project manager, if there are any concerns in terms of the schedule, kunwari may delay, will be the one to ensure and monitor na meron bang activities na pwedeng i-pull in or ipagsabay and so on, so that we can still meet the schedule as per agreed with our stakeholders. And on the opposite side of the coin, if ever na hindi ma-meet yung schedule, the project manager is also the one ensuring that the delays or any changes in the schedule are communicated to the stakeholders. So same with the budget. So when we start out the project, there is an agreed budget with the stakeholders. The project manager is also the one ensuring na hindi tayo lumalagpas dun sa budget. Better kung mas mababa sa budget, meaning may mga cost savings tayo. But at the same time, if there is any new item, meaning kunwari sa scope natin, nadagdagan, sabi ni customer, gusto ko meron yung, ano pa example, Arvee?
Go back to Patricia.
Sorry. So for example, a simple layman's example is yung sa birthday party. For example, yung nanay ng birthday celebrant biglang gusto ng magician sa party. Siyempre, pagka merong additional item, may dumadagdag sa ating scope, dadagdag din yun sa budget. Meaning, kailangan natin ng pambayad dun sa magician na last minute gusto ni client. Okay? And then, the project manager is also the one directing the team to ensure that the quality is met. So ano ba yung criteria na sinet at the start of the project, siya din yung mag-ensure that they are still on track to meet that quality. Same with the risk. The project manager is the one who leads the team in terms of checking if there are any risks, any gaps to the plan. So for example, dun sa ating birthday party example, yung magician na gusto ni client, hindi available sa date ng birthday party. So that's a risk. Hindi magagawa yung gusto ni client. So what can we do to manage that risk? Meron ba silang number to pick in terms of the magician? Or are they willing to move the party to a different date? So on and so forth. So that's one of the things that is being done by a project manager, to take the risks and possible benefits, for example, and ensure that it will not hinder the success and closure of the project. And then lastly, the project manager is also the resource manager. So as the project leader or project manager, siya yung in charge sa lahat ng team members na kasama sa kanyang team for the project. And then siya din yung nag-i-ensure that all of these resources, all of these people work alongside each other and coordinated yung ginagawa nila. For example, sa birthday party, hindi pwedeng yung caterer, ang isa-serve niya ay Japanese food, tapos yung magde-decorate ng birthday party, yung theme naman niya ay Wild West, for example. So hindi magja-jive yung mga ginagawa nila. Hindi magiging coherent yung party kung walang magli-lead sa kanila na project manager to ensure that they are working together towards one project, one theme. Okay? So, Arvee, anything to add?
And then for now, I think we can go to the case study.
All right. So that's a flavor into what we do as a project manager. Balikan ko lang pala yung phases earlier. So just to also give you additional insight on what we do as project managers in IMI, we also go through these phases of the project whenever we have a new product introduction project or NPI project in our company. So initiating, the project is initiated when our sales team comes to us and says, oh, may customer tayo, nanghihingi siya ng quotation, and this is what they want us to do. So when that happens, a cross-functional team is formed. So hindi lang si sales team, kasama dyan si engineering, si program manager, project manager, and then anyone else that they might need in terms of the supply chain, the factory, and so on. So once a quotation is generated, so meron na tayong agreed price with the customer, we move into the planning stage. So dito, as I mentioned earlier, this is the time when details are hammered down. So gusto ni customer ng isang PCB assembly where components are mounted, ito yung ginagawa and so on. And ito yung gagawin ni IMI or ng team for the customer. And then we also figure out ano ba yung mga gaps dun sa gusto ni customer. Do we have all the equipment for all the processes that they want us to do? Do we have enough operators who are certified, engineers who are familiar with the technology? Kaya ba namin i-maintain yung mga machines kung bago siya and so on. And then once we have identified all the gaps, we have closed the planning, meron na kaming schedule, meron ng identified na yung budget, and so on. We now move on to executing. And then, as I mentioned earlier, throughout that entire time, we do controlling and monitoring of the project through what we call a document control center. So throughout that time, we document everything that we're doing so that once we are completed, we have completed the project, we are done executing the project, we can close and then we can just simply archive our documents. So let's move on to the case study. So we prepared a simplified case study for you. So Arvee will take over.
So to get a more concrete example of how project management works, let's look at this case study that we have prepared. So suppose there's a certain company, Rizaldi Automotive Incorporated, who wants to engage with your company to develop a surround view camera prototype that will be used for self-driving cars. So in engaging a project with a company or individual, we first look at the scope. So what is the general, what are the general details for the project? So next slide, please. Okay, so for example, the project that you're engaging with has a budget restriction of $300 million. The working prototype should be available by Q3 of 2021. And prototype should be able to detect objects within a 10-meter range and operates for at least 1,000 hours. So these are the details that we look into a project, which are the scope of the project. So this is where the project plan will revolve around. So in general, a project manager uses a tool to do the planning and management of the project. So this tool is called MS Project, which is available in the Office 365 suite. So just to get a view of how the MS project looks like. So this is how it is. Maybe I'll try to share the tool itself. Let me do the sharing. Let me know pag visible na sa inyo yung screen.
Nice. Gantt chart.
So this is a Microsoft project tool that we use in planning the project. So it's useful because you can see the linkages of each activity. So for example, this generation of project quotation, it is a subsequent activity for the submission of the quote itself. So you see you can input the duration and the linkages. And then later on, you can generate the Gantt chart for which you can see kung ano yung takbo ng project mo. Am I on time? Are there items delayed, for example? So from here, in your MS project, you can input yung activities related dun sa deliverable mo sa customer. So for example, in this case study, it's delivery of prototypes to the customer. So nag-input lang ako dito ng activities that would most likely be within the scope of such an activity. So first block would be the RFQ process. So this is where you get the request from the customer to send a quotation. And then the closing activity for that one is awarding, meaning when you submit the quote and the customer, let's say, awards you the project. And then the next block would be kickoff. So of course, you will kick it off with your team. So you define the members of the team, you lay down to them the scope, and then you form the team officially. Then from there, you generate kung ano yung project plan. Okay? Next block or next phase would be the design phase. So the team is already aware of the scope of the project, what you need to deliver. So from there, you will do your design. So usually you'll generate your first design concept, validate it to your first prototypes, do a design iteration if needed. So for example, may findings kayo sa first prototype nyo such that yung functionality na binanggit kanina, which is 10 meters and working for 1,000 hours are not met, then you have to do an iteration. And then from there, you do your validation for the new prototypes based on the iteration. And then you do some reliability tests to prove the functionality of your prototypes. And then after that, you do a design phase. So meaning you have proven na yung design sa prototypes na kailangan nyo is working based on sa kailangan ng customer. And the next phase would be industrialization phase. So this is where you start working on your real prototypes to be delivered. So activities could be procurement of materials, procurement of machines needed, optimization of your processes, and then the actual assembly. So the duration I put here are just arbitrary and just for your reference para magkaroon tayo ng isang working Gantt chart. So going back to sa requirement kanina, if you would recall, the requirement is Q3 of 2021. So if we look at the overall project, we would be doing that for 337 days and would end up in August. So we're still within the scope of the customer. Okay, so the items here naman depende kung anong field kayo or what field are you going to do your project management. So the activities would depend on that one. It's not limited naman sa manufacturing. There's also opportunity in project management for telecommunications, for example. Just to share my experience, so I did my OJT in smart communication. So at that time kami yung nag-deploy ng 5G sa NCR. So there's also project managers to which we communicate yung activities na ginagawa namin. So there are several opportunities in project management. Just the example that we showed here is in manufacturing. Okay, so I'll go back siguro dun sa slide. Is everybody seeing the presentation again?
Yes.
Okay. So going back, ito yung scope. So budget, yung time kailangan yung prototype, which is Q3 of 2021, and then yung specs ng prototype. So ito yung pinakita ko kanina is a screenshot of the MS Project tool that we use in project management. And then here in the left side is just the Gantt chart to see the relationship of each activity and the duration. So if you see here sa project management, you can also assign yung resources na kailangan mo. For example, in this phase sa RFQ, it's the sales. So visible din siya dito. Sales team, then PM team, R&D, and then yung manufacturing. So it could also be defined. So we'll have these two questions here in this case study, given the explanation that we mentioned earlier about the 5 key processes and the 6 restrictions. So for question 1, let's say the design iteration team figured out that they need additional 2 months to finish the design. So if you recall, there's a scope that was mentioned here. Working prototype should be available by Q3 2021. So say for example, the design team said, okay, we need 2 more months to finish the design. So it will definitely cause a delay in the project, right? But if you stick with the current design, yes, I can meet the timeline, but my current design can only meet the spec requirement for object detection within 8-meter range. If you go back to the scope, what they require is a 10-meter range prototype, right? So as a project manager, what will you do? Okay, and then second case, so during procurement of parts, the sourcing team came back to you as the project manager that the BOM cost is 20% higher than your budget. So if we look back, the customer's budget is only 200 million, right? So if that's 20% higher, that's already out of the budget of the customer. So, but the sourcing team presented a, let's say, cheaper component alternative, but it can only sustain 800 hours of operating time. And the requirement is 1,000 hours. So again, as a project manager, what will you do? So these are just some questions or some case scenarios that we encounter during project management. So it's more of a balance of these 6 items that was mentioned earlier as restriction. So time or schedule, cost, and then quality. Okay, so we'll not answer the question because we'll leave it up to you guys to decide what will you do in case of such scenarios. Okay, so similarly dun sa ibang tracks na meron tayo ngayon, so I think we have in Comms and Electronics wherein pwede tayo mag-pursue ng further let's say academics or certification. Project management also has certain certification, so we call it PMP or Project Management Professional. So it's a title or license that is given to individual who are certified by the Project Management Institute and have achieved these requirements. So first you have 4-year degree, you should have at least 3 years of project management experience and 4,500 hours leading or directing projects. So besides that, you need to have a 35 hours of formal education for project management, and then you can apply for the certification. So the benefit, of course, is if you're a PMP certified compared to a non-PMP certified, then you get higher salary and more opportunity to climb up the ladder. So if you're more familiar siguro with CCNA, I'm not sure if is it track ba, Josh, for ano?
Certification siya, but for Cisco, and we do
So
offer.
it's something that the batch is familiar ba?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Kasi
So it's like a CCNA, so it's also a certification, but this time for a project management track. Okay, so I'll revert back to my partner to explain the next slide for difference for a project manager and technical project manager.
Yeah. So coming from the PMP, actually, if you are interested in pursuing a career in project management, hindi naman strictly required yung certification. It's just something that will boost up your career. But in our line of work, in our company, the project management role is actually split into 2 different roles. So on the left, you have yung project manager, which is si Arvee in our company. And kung makikita nyo, mas nagfo-focus yung role niya on the cost and the time, meaning yung timeliness ng delivery ng project, and of course yung specific shipments of the samples. Although he also has a priority in terms of, he also looks into the quality and scope, risk, and resource of the project. Ang ang heaviest in terms of his key performance index is the cost and time of the project. So on the opposite side of that, my role as a technical project manager is in support of the project manager role. So on my part, mas priority ko tignan yung quality ng project. Are we on track? Is there any technical issue that needs to be resolved? Kailangan ba i-bring in si R&D, si engineering, and so on. And also, of course, the scope of the project. Every time kasi na may dumadagdag or may nagbabago sa scope ng project has an impact on the quality. And of course, might also present risks. Kaya yung risk is also pretty high in terms of the priority of my role, prioritization of my role. And even though I also look at the cost, I also think of the cost and the resources and the time necessary whenever we are performing experiments, whenever we need to do gap assessment, mas priority pa rin or mas mabigat pa rin yung constraint of quality, scope, and risk in my job as opposed to yung sa project manager where ang priority ng role ni Arvee is more on the cost and the time. So we just wanted to show this slide to share that it's possible to become a project manager without being certified, and also it's also possible to have a setup where more than one person, more than one group will do or will take care of the different aspects of the project. Okay? I think, Arvee, that's our last slide. Okay. At this point, I think we can accept questions. Josh?
All right. Thank you so much, Justine and Arvee. Actually, si Dean nasa YouTube. May online meeting lang siya. Gusto niya sana humabol sa meeting natin today kasi gusto niya rin kayong makita. For the information of everyone, si Engineer Arvee Dadis is a batchmate of mine. And he was a former, as already said, VP External for ECPC. Tama ba? ECEPC. Yun. So, hindi lang maka-join si Dean kasi may online meeting pa siya. Pero nasa YouTube siya. Ayan. Anyway, so thank you again for the presentation, Arvee and Justine. I'm now opening the floor or the virtual floor for questions, the space for anyone who has a question. Guys? Do you have any questions, guys? Yes, Ellie. Si Daka.
Good afternoon po. Pwede po magtanong if ever
Ellie, yung mic mo is kind of grounded. Don't touch anything.
Okay na.
Medyo mahina. Can you adjust, try plugging in and plugging your mic or your headset?
Okay na po.
Yes, better. Please proceed.
Magtatanong lang po ako with regards po. Halimbawa po, nakapag-handle na po kayo ng, naka-experience na po ba kayo dati ng project tapos bigla pong nagkaroon ng aberya? Yung tanong ko po is, ano pong tip yung pwede nyong mabigay po sa amin?
Yeah, siguro for that, being the project manager, you do the decision, but you base your decision on your cross-functional team. So, in our experience, madaming cases na nagkaroon ng aberya, for example, delays, or ano pa ba? Yeah, mainly delays. But as a project manager, you have to consult the, let's say, subject experts. For example, ang issue mo is nagkaroon ka ng delay dahil sa technical issue. Before doing decision, you consult your technical guys. So, and then make the decision based on that one. So, look at all the aspects of the project. Go back to your scope. Ano ba yung kailangan ko i-deliver? And then make a decision from there.
Okay po. Thank you po.
Ako, I have a question. Pag project management, paano ba? Akala nila parang chill-chill lang ang buhay, manage mo lang yung project or something. Can you share us, no? Kasi coming from an electronics engineering background, of course, hindi masyadong gamit yung ECE natin. But for those na interested to take on something of a job just like yours, can you describe for us yung mga, kahit a piece lang of daily routine or daily job that you do, and compare for us yung technicalities and management skills na needed to handle a job such as yours? Kasi for example, ayaw namin mag-semicon, ayaw namin mag-telecom, ayaw namin mag-ICT, gusto ko mag-project management. Ano yung skills na kailangan ko or ano yung daily job or routine that you do in your work?
Siguro going dun sa skill, Josh, number one is communication. Because as the project lead, you are the voice of your team. So be it your communication to the customer, communication to the higher management, ikaw yung parang focal person eh. So you need to be number one, well or good in communication. Second siguro, you have to be organized.
Mhm.
So since you do the planning, you do the checking with your team, are the items delivered on time? Are they being done as how they should be? So siguro just to share siguro my experience. And I think alam naman ni Josh, I'm not a very well organized person since college. So at first medyo nahirapan ako kasi ang dami kong kailangang i-monitor eh. Unlike kung, for example, I'm in a technical field, say for example, sa Semicon doing test engineering. Ang comfort zone ko lang is dun sa equipment ko, for example, that I maintain yung test equipment. But going into project management, ang daming scope. So first, I have to be organized and I have to be well in communicating things. So communication, it's two ways. So from the customer, from the management to your team, and then from your team to the customer to the management. So in terms of day-to-day siguro, we're filled with meetings and reading emails, and it's basically how you would imagine siguro an office job would be.
Thank you, Arvee.
Maybe.
How about you, Justine? Can you please share to us yung usually day-to-day, a slice of a life in an NPI engineer? Justine?
So sorry, I think I had connection issues for a moment. For my side, in terms of the skills that are required for project manager, both project manager or NPI engineer, technical project manager, similar din sa sinabi ni Arvee, the first is it's important to have communication skills. Not just in terms of being able to speak to customers or to management, but team and asking the right questions. Kasi minsan it's also a matter of getting the right information from your team members. So alam naman natin, any project, specifically when we are already working, hindi siya magagawa ng isang tao lang. Am I still online?
Yes. Medyo may connection issues nga, but your message went through.
Okay. So as the project leader, you have to be able to get the right information from your team members so that inform din yung ibang stakeholders such as yung management and even the customer. So another thing is on the organization side, although it is true that it is a benefit kung organized kang tao, the most important thing there is that you have a handle on all of your project constraints. So may aware ka sa nangyayari sa project mo, aware ka sa ginagawa ng team members mo, and you have a handle in terms of managing the budget, the time, and all the resources that are necessary for your project. And then I think another thing that is most important is a willingness to learn. Kasi every project, at least in my experience, in terms of NPI, every project is a chance to learn something new. Kasi the technology can be new, the product can be new, possible then new. So that your expertise is always fresh, is always new. So you have to be one that is willing to learn so that you can adapt to every project that you get. Actually, in terms of the day-to-day, that's the most exciting part. Kapag NPI engineer ka or project manager ka for an NPI project, every day is something new. So for me, a daily routine is meeting up with my team. So at the start of the day, we check in with each other. Ano ba yung nangyari sa line kahapon? Ano yung mga technical issues na na-encounter? May mga defects ba? paano natin i-resolve, and then what are the actions moving forward so that in the long run, hindi natin mauulit yun. So I guess one concrete example I can mention is we encountered some dents on our product. Meron kasi kaming live product na tumatakbo ngayon, nakaka-encounter kami ng dent. And it's possible that it is being caused by yung gripper ng product while it's in the production line. So, pag-uusapan ng team, ano ba yung immediate actions na pwedeng gawin? Pwede bang i-loosen yung grip, lagyan ng tape, high temperature tape or something? But also at the same time, in the long run, ano ba yung solution? Dapat ba hindi robot arm ang gagamitin, and so on. So that's what a day-to-day looks like for me as an NPI engineer.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you, Justine, for sharing. We have some few more questions here. Tony Racelis is asking, sir, question po, kapag po ba nangyari nung katulad sa case study na binigay, may instance po ba na binabawi na ng customer yung agreement or yung project? Arvee.
So on a commercial side, usually when we engage yung projects, we have certain contracts in place. So that protects the parties dun sa mga cases na ganyan. For example, potentially magka-legal implications. So depending on how you set up the contract, but usually before you engage in a big project na tulad ng ganyan, there's a contract that binds the two parties together. So they cannot just, let's say for example, pull out the project from you.
Mm-hmm.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you. Dan. About you, Dan?
I just want to add, although that there are contracts that can protect us, it's also the responsibility of the project manager to manage the expectations ng customer. So for example, something went wrong na hindi natin ine-expect, which happens all the time, by the way. Walang project na perfect. It's also the job of the project manager to explain to the customer ano ba yung nangyari. And normally they are understanding for as long as mapapaintindi natin ano yung nangyari. So for example, kung may delay, ano yung cause ng delay? May nasira bang part sa machine? Meron bang material na biglang wala ng stock and so on. Normally they're understanding about situations like that. Kailangan lang maintindihan ni customer kung ano ba talaga yung nangyayari.
And again, it's a two-way communication naman, as mentioned, as long as you explain it well with your customer, then there will be a discussion.
So Tony, did that answer your question? And reply siya. Thank you daw. Thank you, Arvee and Justine. Okay. You have some more questions here. Jean Carlo has a question. Jean?
Good afternoon po. Quick question lang po ito. Mahirap po ba mag-transition from
Medyo choppy yung reception.
Okay na.
No. Hello? Jean? Medyo lagay tigit sa internet. I'll ask your question.
Ba? Okay na po ba? Sige po.
Okay, alright. So yung question ni Jean is, mahirap po ba mag-transition from a hands-on technical role to a project management role? How do you know when you're up for the task or should decline? I think Justine is a good candidate for this question.
I think it...
You started as NPI, right? Tama ba? Sorry.
No, actually, I started as a commodity engineer. Medyo magkaibang role. I used to manage yung suppliers on the supply side. So more on the negotiation with suppliers. And eventually, I landed a role in NPI as a technical project manager. And I think it's not a matter of transitioning from being technical. Kasi actually, advantage yung pagiging technical eh. Having a technical background will allow you to understand kung ano yung mga issues. Yun yung background mo to understand yung new processes, new technology, new product. And the key there is that there isn't really a time to be ready. There's no signal that you are ready for a project manager role. But it will help if you have a lot of experience with communicating and working with a team, both formally and informally. So kasama dyan yung mga school projects, mga org projects, and so on. Kasi ako personally, I didn't know that I would land a role in project management at nakatulong sa akin lahat ng experience ko in my org. So throughout all of my years in college, active ako sa org ko, and then that was really my background in terms of becoming a project manager.
Nice. I hope it answered your question, Jean. Arvee, any insights?
Siguro with I think the same response, I just want to focus dun sa communicating kasi the struggle siguro that you will be facing in terms of being the project manager if you're not yet, let's say, that good in communicating is paano mo mapapasunod yung tao. So take note na if you get assigned as a project manager, you need to, yung input mo dun sa deliverables mo is coming from different groups. So it might be the case na you need to ask, let's say, people who are older than you to do the task, and it's not always easy. For example, sa amin, going early, by the way, it's yung first, I think I mentioned kanina, it's our first job. So when we're doing the project management, there are people who are very, very, let's say, far older than us. So there are engineers who are like 40, 50 years old, and then you ask them to do this and to do that. And my experience kami na there's some, let's say, should I say, friction at the start. So siguro sabihin nila, ba't ko ba susundin to, mas bata nga sa akin. That's the challenge actually, how you, kumbaga, sa Tagalog, paano mo kunin yung kiliti ng team members mo. So that could also be a factor or that you need to study by yourself when you plan to transition into a project manager position.
All right. So may factor pala.
Thank you po.
Nagawa pala yung mga late night, yung mga pangmatindihang mga
siguro tip lang ako. Kinilala ko din muna yung mga members ko eh. I mean, part siguro na naging strategy ko yun na I go beyond, I'm not sure if it's applicable to all, pero at some point I go beyond what is, let's say, for work. For example, there are cases may kailangan ako sa engineer. And then paglalapitan ko silang pungad ko, "Opa, kamusta yung anak mo?" Tapos ang sunod, "Asan yung report mo?"
Ayos ah.
So, walang book siguro na nagsasabi, this is how you become a project management. It's a style actually. So, everyone should have his or her own style of doing that to be able to get your deliverables in the end. Yun lang.
All right. Thank you. I hope it answered your question, Jean. He answered it did. Thank you, Arvee and Justine. Another question is from Nicole. She asks, I observed from the case studies presented that there are really a lot of conflicts in project management. Tapos given the differences ng priorities ng isang project manager at technical project manager sa isang project, how do you deal with these conflicts? Any advice or things to keep in mind? Who wants to go first?
I think it's not really conflicts. It's just that there are different sides of the project na kailangan bigyan ng pansin. The only reason na sa structure namin ngayon, merong more than one person or more than one group handling the overall project management is because yung mga hinahandle namin na project are really huge, really complex, na hindi siya kaya ng iisang project manager. So it's not really, it should not be seen as a conflict, but rather it's a partnership between different people, different groups na iba yung binibigyan ng pansin. Tapos given the differences in priorities ng isang project manager and technical project manager? Generally, ang nasusunod, at least in our industry, in our experience, ay yung may hawak ng pera. ng pera at saka ng timeline. Kasi syempre, kung the reality is, projects cost money. And even if you have the most innovative R&D, the most technical engineering team, kung wala tayong pangbayad dun sa latest equipment that's on the market, latest machine that's on the market, hindi masusunod yung technical team. The reality is, kailangan pa rin mag-adjust ng team kung ano yung kakasya sa budget. Kasi hindi naman pwede bili tayo ng bagong makina, mag-i-invest tayo sa iba-ibang technology. We still have to be practical. We have to balance the practicality side of the project.
So good. Arvee, anything to add?
Siguro when conflicts or when starting a project siguro and then you have the conflict, siguro just begin the project with the end in mind. So, ano ba yung goal ko? Ba't ko ba ginagawa yung project? So, there will be struggles, may conflicts, ganyan. Pero you just go back to ano yung goal. So, and then from that, I think your decisions later on would be linked towards those goals.
All right, thank you, Arvee. Here's another question from... this is an interesting one. From Thea Lotero. Sabi niya, Sir, can fresh grads apply as project managers or need po ng ilang years na experience muna, and how many po, if ever?
Ikaw ba muna sasagot? Ako na.
Ha? Ikaw.
Referring kay ano. Siguro ako personally, I would recommend to explore other positions first. Kasi being a project manager is a big task. So if you're, let's say, not up for the challenge, baka mabigla ka. So personally, I would prefer or I would suggest na you start siguro with certain positions first. For example, get a feel of what the company does. Let's say you land a certain position in a company. Kasi it's hard to manage a project if you don't know kung ano din yung project. I mean, you'll be easily run over by other people. It will affect your decision making. So, in terms of number of years, I think it's not on the number of years, but siguro kung if you have the confidence first and the knowledge, then I think you can assume that position. So, be familiar muna with the trade, the company, or the field that you'll go into, and then start it from there.
So in short, walang project manager agad after fresh grad?
I would recommend siguro. I mean, maybe Justine has a
possible
different.
siya.
It's possible, but possible kasi kami fresh grad kami. Kaso we went kasi into a cadetship program, and that program really prepared us for the role that we have now. So it's kind of like may classroom training, may immersion. And not all companies kasi offers cadetship. If you get into a cadetship, that would be great. At least you get you get ready for the position. In some companies kasi cadetship is like management trainee. So they get fresh grads to be successors dun sa position. So if you can get a position for cadetship or management trainee, that would be good. If not, then siguro start muna dun sa familiarization.
Alright. How about you, Justine?
Sorry, I slightly disagree.
May conflict na. How do we manage conflict?
Pero my view is that to answer it straight, yes, you can go into it as a fresh grad. Pero like sinabi ni Arvee, it's not easy. You have to be ready to run a team. For example, normally, yung mga team members mo, especially if you're the fresh grad, ang mga team members mo, they have had years of experience. So that's something that you have to be prepared for. I think it will help if you have really a strong willingness to learn, especially from your teammates na mas nakakatanda, meaning mas marami na silang na-experience na project, mas marami na silang alam in terms of the technologies. But also at the same time, you have to have that confidence.
Not sure sa akin lang, nawala yung audio.
Ayun. Nawala ba? Wala
Yeah,
yun.
okay. Okay siya, Arvee.
Okay, baka sa akin lang. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so it's possible, but it will entail some learning from the part of the project manager to really learn from your team members and what it is the company does and what should be done. So yun, possible pero it's not gonna be easy.
All right.
But it's possible. Yeah.
So possible. Kay
Yes.
Arvee, not recommended. Kay Justine, go! Okay. It's a good conflict. So it's for the students too. Thank you daw, sabi ni Thea, Justine and Arvee. We have another question, perhaps the last question for the students. Sabi niya, question po sir, ano po yung mga decisions na pwede gawin ng project manager immediately sa mga pagkakataon na malapit na deadline? Tapos may problem na hindi na po kailangan ng immediate permission from administration or higher authority. Can you give an experience kung meron? So parang decision making, last minute, ka-problem, deadline na bukas. Ano yung mga pwede mo nang tirahin, solve without letting the higher ups know or asking for their permission?
Ako personally, depende sa sa impact ng decision na gagawin mo. Siguro to cite some specific cases, meron kaming issue before na shipment yun ng part and then nagka-problema dun sa forwarder na naka-assign to deliver the part. So we had to sort to looking for other options. Madidelay na yung part sa customer kasi meron din silang timeline. So what I did is nag-book ako ng hand carry. If you're not familiar, yung hand carry is an expensive way to transport goods kasi mag-hire ka talaga ng taong personally magdadala nun. So I think $5,000 yung cost nun versus 2,000 pesos na courier. But then again, if I don't make the call kasi, it would be a bigger problem kasi first, hindi mamimit yung customer yung timeline niya, there will be escalation, babalik din sa akin yan. So I had to make the call. Siguro the part lang doon is you have to be responsible in your decision. So when I did that and then lumabas yung financial doon, then I had to explain it to my boss and then say na ito yung basis ko for doing that decision.
Nice.
So I think yun medyo maliit pa. So depende din kasi sa una sa scope ng decision mo, how big will your kasi decisions are always di ba? Parang it's hit or miss. Will your decision be for the good or will it be for the bad? So ano yung effect if that decision is actually the wrong one that you made? And then ano naman yung kapag good? So you have to weigh it So yun. Maybe right. Justine can add some points.
How about you, Justine?
Yes. So like what Arvee said, it's really a case-to-case basis. It depends on what the situation is. Sometimes the situation can be resolved by decision from you as the project leader. May times din na kailangan mo ng opinion ng team mo from your technical team to be able to make the decision. I think the important things here is that as a project leader, you have to remember your 6 constraints. So for example, pag dinecide ko to, ano yung impact sa scope? Ano yung impact sa timeline? Ano yung impact sa cost? So you have to weigh it. Possible na, like yung example ni Arvee, mamimit mo yung timeline, yes, pero magkakaroon ka naman ng impact sa cost. But at the same time, you also have to weigh ano ba yung magiging impact to the customer and possibly to the management.
To the business itself.
Yes, to the business itself. So if it's a net positive, then it is a good decision to go through with that decision, to pursue that activity or decision. But overall, we also have to remember that communication is still the key. So if there are any delays or issues that come up close to our commitment deadline, especially kung wala tayong nakikitang viable solution in the near term, the most important thing is to communicate. So first, to communicate to your team members, to your immediate superior na ganito yung nangyari, and then ganito yung magiging implication because we will not meet our commitment. And lastly, we also have to communicate it to the customer so that we manage their expectation. So, unfortunately, reality na minsan hindi natin nami-meet yung expectation ng customer. And that's okay. So, we have to remember that that's okay. And that's just the reality. Ang important dyan ay whenever we communicate to the customer and to everyone involved, we have all of the information ready na, chinek ko na kasi yung ganitong option, ito kasi yung nangyari, and it really will need this amount of time or this amount of money or this amount of resources to resolve the issue. And although possible na may magalit, especially yung customer, normally if we come to them with all of the facts and with potential solutions, they are normally accepting in the end. Kasi kahit sila as a customer, alam nila yung mga hardships, yung mga possible logistical issues na na-encounter natin sa industry.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you daw, sabi ni Jolo, for the answers. Perhaps my last question for both Arvee and Justine is this. Siguro, there are some students who might say na parang, nako, after 5 years of my education in ECE sa De La Salle University, Dasmariñas, I feel na medyo hindi ata linya ko talaga yung pagiging ECE, electronics, or communications, or ICT. Feeling ko, yung puso ko talaga nasa management. So parang gusto ko lang mag-take ng board exam so that I could be recognized by the state as an engineer, para din naman trophy ko siya. Pero parang mas gusto ko o napupusuan ko na mag-take ng something of a more corporate role, just like Q, project management. So the question is, magkano ang starting magkano ang starting ng cadet engineer? If you can give us a hint lang, okay lang.
Nako, hindi na relevant yung numbers na alam namin kasi nag-adjust na sila to the current industry standard.
Nice. So, ibig sabihin, yung 2014.
I don't think it would be safe to say.
Okay.
1,000 to 30,000 siguro.
What? Kano? Di ka.
Between 1,000 to 30,000 siguro.
Pwede na.
Pero comparatively, when I was applying, actually I had the highest offer. So for the role that I had. So I'm not sure. I think Arvee had a similar experience in terms of the industry that time. It's one of the most competitive offers that I received, both financially and also dun sa benefits. So siguro yun yung final answer ko na you also have to look at the overall package. So it's not always about the money. Yan. So #adulting, kailangan meron ding insurance, health package, and so on. So wag lang pera titingnan nyo.
Comfort ng IUI, pati insurance?
Hindi. Health insurance. Not financial insurance. Yeah.
Ba? Tapos may stocks din ba kayo?
At our position, we didn't have stock options. Not for the positions that we were offering.
Ayos.
Siguro in my experience to share then, since later on you'll be looking for a job then. So as mentioned ko kanina, di ba, galing din ako ng Smart as an OJT. So yung offer sa akin for a project management position dyan sa IMI is way higher than sa offer sa akin as engineer 1 sa Smart and San Miguel.
18K lang ata kasi dun. Oops.
Actually, lower pa, Josh.
Lower pa ba? 16 something. I'm starting na ba?
So yun. And if you get the gist din naman dun sa training na to, it's a more complex position then. I mean, the job for sure is difficult. So I think good compensation din naman goes with that.
Nice. The Ayala's pay good, ha? Okay. So yeah, I think that would wrap up. Thank you very much for answering yung question. Medyo awkward lang and slightly borderline unethical. Pero thank you for accommodating our questions, the questions of the students. I think it's already 5:45. We went beyond our 1 hour time slot. Thank you very much for accommodating us and for the time you've spent with us. Arvee and Justine, thank you very much.
If ever may
Guys,
question pa, Josh, yung
yes.
we have our emails naman, I think, shared. Hindi ko alam na share na to. Then you can just drop us emails for other questions.
Yeah, ayun. Thank you, Arvee. On the screen as shown are the emails of Arvee and Justine. If you have questions, don't hesitate to shoot them an email and ask them. So yun, thank you very much again, Justine and Arvee, for a very productive time. I guess marami sila talagang nakuha, and for some na medyo hindi technical, there is an option for project management for you, even if you are an ECE. So yan, guys, please open your mics. Pasalamatan lang natin si Justine and si Arvee. Palakpakan natin sila for giving us their time.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
Patayo na ba yung sayat ulit?
Oo, ito yung sayat building.
For everyone's time, for inviting us.
Yeah. Thank you also for the opportunity.
Yes. I hope to see you, Arvee and Justine, soon. Thank you again, and bye-bye. God bless. Thank you. Wait lang pala. May picture pala. Nakalimutan ko lagi. May group picture daw pala. Sorry. Thank you for reminding me, officers. So, okay. Get ready. Please turn on your cams, guys. And prepare your smiles. Okay. So, in 3, si Arvee at si Justine. We actually have 3 pages and we have currently 91 participants, Arvee and Justine. Listen to your talk today. So ready, in the count of 3, bring your best smile. Ready? 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay. That's stage 1. Tayo. We have page 2. Okay, ready, in the count of 3, 3, 2, 1, smile. Alright. Last page, page 3. The count of 3, 3, 2, 1, smile. Alright. Thank you so much again, Arvee and Justine, for your time, for spending your valuable and precious time with us. I'll see you next time. God bless you all. Bye-bye, Arvee, Justine. Bye-bye, Arvee.